The Great Hall of the Galactic Coalition was built to impress. Its ceiling stretched so high that clouds sometimes formed inside. The walls glowed with lights from 1,000 worlds. Today, Ambassador Minho stood at the center of it all, feeling very small. Around him sat the Coalition Council. They came in all shapes and sizes. Some had scales, others had fur. A few glowed in the dark. One looked like a floating brain inside a glass tank. But they all had one thing in common. They were looking at Minho like he was a child. "The humans wish to join our defense forces," Council Member Krisha's voice echoed through the hall. Her 4 eyes blinked in sequence, which Minho had learned meant she was amused. How curious. Minho kept his face calm. He had practiced this speech for weeks. Humanity has much to offer. We have experience in strategic planning, tactical operations, and experience. Commander Velthar interrupted. He was massive, covered in purple scales with tusks as long as Minho's arm. Your species has been in space for barely 50 years. We have fought wars for 10,000 years. What could you possibly teach us? The other council members made sounds that Minho's translator interpreted as laughter. Earth has a long military history. Minho tried again. Our species has what? Fought with sticks and stones? Krisha's translator carried a mocking tone. Ambassador, we appreciate your enthusiasm. But the Coalition has standards. Your people are soft, fragile, you break easily. You live such short lives. We have survived countless wars on our own planet, Minho said, keeping his voice steady. We have developed strategies that might be useful. Velthar leaned forward. His breath smelled like sulfur. Let me tell you what humans are good for, little ambassador. You grow excellent food. Your art is quite pretty. Your music is soothing. These are valuable contributions. Be proud of them. But war? He showed his teeth in what might have been a smile. War is for warriors, not for farmers and artists. The council voted. It was unanimous. Humans would remain classified as a support species. They could grow food, make art, and handle administrative tasks. But they would not be allowed in military roles. Minho bowed politely and left the hall. His hands were shaking, but not from fear. From anger. Outside, Yuna was waiting for him. She was the liaison officer for the human colony on Outpost Taros. Her official job was managing agricultural shipments. Her unofficial job was keeping an eye on Coalition military operations. Let me guess, she said. They said no. They laughed, Minho replied quietly. They actually laughed. Yuna nodded. She had expected this. Come on. I need to deliver grain to the fortress. You should see what their elite warriors look like. They took a transport to the Coalition military fortress. It was huge, all black metal and weapon towers. Thousands of soldiers trained in the open fields. Minho and Yuna watched from the delivery platform as they unloaded food supplies. The Coalition soldiers were impressive to look at. They wore shining armor. They carried weapons that hummed with energy. They moved in perfect formation, marching in straight lines, but Minho noticed something. Their training was all for show. They practiced elaborate sword techniques that looked beautiful but wasted energy. They charged forward in organized groups, never taking cover. They fought one-on-one duels, announcing their attacks before striking. It's like watching a dance, Yuna muttered, not a battle. They've never faced a real threat, Minho realized. 10,000 years of winning makes you forget how to struggle. That evening, there was a diplomatic dinner. The Coalition liked to show off their strength by hosting feasts. Humans were invited as entertainment like exotic pets. Minho sat at a table with several Coalition officers. They were drinking something that made them loud and boastful. Tell me, human, one officer said. He had 6 arms and kept flexing all of them. Do you know how many enemies I've killed? No, Minho replied politely. 347. All in honorable combat. The officer pounded the table. How many have you killed? Minho thought about lying, about staying quiet. But something in him snapped. I don't know, the officer laughed. You don't know? You've never fought? I don't know the number, Minho said clearly. I stopped counting. The table went quiet. The officer stared at him. You stopped counting? It didn't seem important, Minho said. The goal was survival, not scorekeeping. Another officer leaned in. She had crystal skin that reflected light. But how can you claim honor if you don't know your victories? We don't fight for honor, Minho said. We fight to live. They looked at him like he'd said something disgusting. Fighting without honor? Surviving instead of proving yourself? This was not the way of warriors. "This is why you are farmers," Velthar said from across the room. He had been listening. "You have no warrior spirit, no pride. You are too practical. Too soft." Minho said nothing. He just smiled and nodded. Let them think what they wanted. Back at the human colony, Minho found Dongwu working in the rice fields. Dongwu looked like a simple farmer. He was middle-aged, quiet, with dirt under his fingernails. No one knew he'd commanded an infantry division back on Earth. "They rejected us again?" Dongwu asked, not looking up from his work. "Yes." "Good." Dongwu patted the soil down around a young plant. Let them stay ignorant. In the medical center, Hyerin was organizing supplies. She was the colony's head doctor. Only 3 other humans knew she'd been a combat medic in 4 wars. Her hands had saved hundreds of lives while bullets flew overhead. "How long do you think we can keep this up?" she asked Minho. "As long as we need to," he replied. "We came here for peace, to leave the fighting behind." "But if something happens," Minho interrupted, "we'll do what we always do. What we're good at. But until then, we're farmers and artists and doctors. We're exactly what they think we are." Hyerin nodded slowly. "Sometimes I forget what we were capable of. Then I remember and it scares me." "It should," Minho said. "That's why we stopped." That night, Minho stood outside the colony dome and looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, Earth continued turning. A world that had known nothing but war for thousands of years. Humans had fought with stones, then bronze, then iron, then steel. They'd invented guns, tanks, planes, missiles, bombs that could end all life. And then finally they'd stopped. They'd looked at what they'd become and said no more. The Galactic Coalition thought humans were harmless because they'd only seen humanity at peace. They didn't understand that peace was a choice. A hard choice. A choice that could be unmade. Minho hoped they'd never find out. He really did, but deep down he knew. Eventually the galaxy would need warriors. Real warriors. Not the ones who fought for glory or honor or pride. The ones who fought to survive. And on that day, the Coalition would learn what humans really were. The warning came 3 months later. It started as strange signals from the edge of Coalition space. Ships went to investigate. None came back. Then the border stations went silent. One by one, like lights turning off. The Coalition sent scouts. Most didn't return. The few that did brought nightmare stories. In the council chambers, holographic images floated above the table. They showed creatures that made seasoned warriors look away. The things were insectoid with too many legs and mouths that split 3 ways. They moved in swarms, thousands at a time. "The Devourers," Krisha said, her voice shaking. "We thought they were a myth. A story to scare children." "They're real enough," said Velthar, but even his booming voice sounded uncertain. "And they're heading toward our core worlds." The Coalition mobilized its fleets. They were confident. After all, they'd never lost a war. Their warriors were trained by masters who'd lived for centuries. They had weapons that could crack planets. Surely these bugs would be no different than the others. Warmaster Thrax led the first wave. He was a legend, 200 years old with victories on 50 worlds. His scales bore the marks of 100 battles. Young warriors sang songs about him. The human colony watched the fleet depart. It was magnificent. Thousands of ships, all in perfect formation, gleaming in the starlight. Music played from the speakers. The warriors inside chanted battle hymns. Jinwu watched from his field. To the Coalition, he was just an agricultural engineer. He designed irrigation systems and crop rotations. They didn't know he'd spent 15 years in Earth's Strategic Defense Corps, planning operations across 3 continents. "They're flying in formation," he said quietly. "Tight formation." Sora stood next to him. She ran the colony's medical center. The Coalition thought she was just a doctor. They didn't know about the Special Forces missions, the extractions behind enemy lines, the field surgeries while under fire. No scouts ahead, she observed. No flank guard. They're just marching forward. "Like they're in a parade," Jinwu said. "They've never fought someone who doesn't play by their rules," Sora replied. 2 weeks later, the fleet came back. What was left of it? The Devourers didn't fight with honor. They didn't announce their attacks. They didn't face their enemies head-on. They ambushed from asteroid fields. They used debris as cover. They targeted life support systems instead of weapons. They swarmed damaged ships, tearing them apart piece by piece. They didn't just kill Coalition warriors. They ate them while they were still alive. Thrax's flagship limped into port. Of the 5,000 ships that left, fewer than 800 returned. The great War Master was carried out on a stretcher. His eyes stared at nothing. His hands wouldn't stop shaking. They were everywhere. He whispered, in the walls, in the shadows. We'd kill one and 10 more would come. They didn't fight us. They hunted us. The coalition was in shock. This wasn't supposed to happen. They were the greatest military power in the galaxy. They had 10,000 years of victories. Belthar called an emergency council meeting. His purple scales had lost their shine. We need to evacuate the border worlds. Pull back to defensible positions. Pull back? Krisha's voice was high-pitched. We don't pull back. We've never retreated in our history. Then start learning, Belthar snapped. Because if we don't, we're all going to die. The arguments went on for hours. Meanwhile, the Devourers kept advancing. They didn't stop. They didn't negotiate. They just consumed everything in their path. Refugees flooded into the inner worlds. They told stories of entire planets stripped bare. Cities turned to ash. Billions dead. The Devourers moved like a plague, leaving nothing alive behind them. The Coalition sent more fleets. They all came back broken. Or didn't come back at all. The humans watched it all. They said nothing. They delivered food to the military bases, treated wounded soldiers, maintained the infrastructure. They were just support species. This wasn't their war, but at night they gathered in private. Those tactics, Taman said. He was the colony's security chief. Officially, he made sure the fences were working and the doors were locked. Unofficially, he'd been a Marine Corps officer for 12 years. The Devourers are using standard insurgency doctrine. Hit and run, target supply lines, psychological warfare. And the Coalition has no defense against it, Nari added. She taught children during the day. At night, she remembered her years in military intelligence. They've spent 10,000 years fighting honorable enemies. They don't know how to fight a dirty war. We do, Jinwoo said quietly. Everyone looked at him. We know exactly how to fight this kind of enemy, he continued. Earth fought wars like this for centuries. Guerrilla warfare, Totalvar. We wrote books about it. We taught classes. We lived it. So what do we do? Hiron asked. Nothing, Minho said firmly. This isn't our war. We came here to escape violence, to build something better. While billions die, Taman challenged. While we stay out of it, Minho replied. We're not warriors anymore. Remember? But fate had other plans. A Coalition veteran named Zol came to the human colony one night. He was young by Coalition standards, barely 40 years old. He'd lost his entire unit to the Devourers. 20 warriors he'd trained with since childhood. All dead in minutes, he found Minho in the agricultural center looking at crop reports. I need to talk to you, Zol said. His voice was rough. Privately, they walked to the edge of the colony where the dome met the darkness. Your people fought wars, Zol said. It wasn't a question. Before you joined the Coalition, I looked at your history. Your Earth. You had wars that lasted years, decades, centuries. Yes, Minho admitted. We did. How? Zol's hands were shaking. How did you survive enemies like this? Enemies that don't fight fair. That don't follow any rules. That just want to kill and never stop. Minho was quiet for a long time. Then he asked, Does your command know you're here? No, they'd consider it shameful. Asking a support species for help. Zol laughed bitterly. But I'm already shameful. I'm alive while my brothers are dead. So who cares about one more shame? Why me? Minho asked. Because today I saw Jinwoo watching our training, the way he looked at our formations. He shook his head like he was seeing children playing soldier. And I realized, you're not farmers, are you? Not really. Minho looked at the young warrior. He saw the desperation, the fear, the broken pride. No, he finally said. We're not farmers. Not originally. Then what are you? Survivors, Minho said. That's all. We survived wars that should have destroyed us. We survived enemies that fought like your Devourers. We survived because we learned one simple truth. What truth? War isn't about honor, Minho said quietly. It's not about glory or pride or proving yourself. War is about survival. And to survive, you do whatever it takes. No matter how ugly. No matter how shameful. Zol stared at him. Teach me. Your commanders won't allow it. I don't care. Teach me. Teach anyone who will listen, please. Zol's voice broke. I can't lose anyone else. I can't. I'll do anything. Minho looked at the stars. He thought about peace. about leaving violence behind, about building a better future. Then he thought about billions of civilians dying while the coalition's pride got in the way. "Tomorrow night," he said. "Bring whoever you trust, come quietly, and be ready to learn things that will make you sick." Zol nodded and left. Minho stood alone in the darkness. He'd hoped they'd never have to do this again. But the universe, it seemed, wasn't done with them yet. The wolves would have to wake up. Just one more time. They came in the dark. 12 coalition warriors moving like shadows. They'd told no one where they were going. Asking humans for help would mean the end of their military careers. Maybe worse, but they came anyway. Minho met them in an empty warehouse at the edge of the colony. The humans were already there. Jinwoo, Sora, Taemin, Dongwoo, Hierin, Nari. 7 humans who looked like farmers and doctors and teachers. Zal led the coalition group inside. The warriors looked nervous, ashamed. They were used to being the teachers, not the students. "Thank you for coming," Minho said simply. "This stays between us, agreed?" Everyone nodded. "Good, then let's start with the hard truth. Everything you know about war is wrong." One of the coalition warriors, a female with silver scales named Kira, bristled. "We've trained our whole lives to fight with honor," Taemin interrupted. "To prove your worth. To achieve glory in battle." He leaned forward. "The Devourers don't care about any of that. They just want you dead, so your honor gets you killed. What would you have us do?" Zal asked. "Fight like cowards?" "Fight like survivors," Jinwoo said. "There's a difference. A coward runs away. A survivor does whatever it takes to live, and to make the enemy die." Sora stood up. "Show us how you train." "Right now. Attack that dummy over there." Kira stood. She drew her energy blade. She announced her stance. She moved forward with textbook perfect form. Her strike was beautiful, flowing like water. The dummy's head fell off cleanly. "Good," Sora said. "Now you're dead." Kira turned, confused. "What?" "You announced your attack. You moved in a straight line. You focused on one target. In a real fight, while you were making that pretty strike, 3 Devourers would have torn you apart from behind. But that's not how warriors fight. It's how soldiers fight," Taemin said. He stood up. "Watch." He moved toward another dummy. No announcement, no stance. He just rushed forward, grabbed a metal pipe from the ground, and smashed the dummy's legs. As it fell, he stomped on what would be the head. Then he grabbed another pipe and held it like a spear, eyes scanning in all directions. "Not pretty," he said. "Not honorable. But I'm alive and the enemy isn't. That's all that matters." The coalition warriors looked sick. This wasn't war. This was butchery. "I know what you're thinking," Minho said gently. "This feels wrong, shameful, like you're betraying everything you were taught. But let me ask you something. How many of your friends died fighting honorably?" Silence. "How many more will die before you admit your way isn't working?" Zol's hands clenched. "Teach us." The lessons began. Dongwoo taught them about cover and concealment. Never stand in the open, ever. If you can be seen, you can be killed. Use everything around you, hide, strike from shadows. Live to fight another minute. The coalition warriors hated it. Hiding was cowardly. But they watched as Dongwoo demonstrated how to survive against superior numbers, how to pick off enemies one by one, how to retreat and regroup. "Retreat?" one warrior asked in disgust. "Retreating isn't losing," Dongwoo explained. "It's surviving. You fall back, you live, you fight again tomorrow. Standing your ground against impossible odds isn't brave. It's stupid." Nari taught them about psychological warfare. The Devourers use fear as a weapon. They eat your friends in front of you. They leave bodies where you'll find them. They make sounds in the dark. This isn't random. It's tactics. She showed them how to resist, how to stay calm under horror, how to turn the enemy's tricks back on them. They want you scared? Make them scared. Leave their dead where they'll find them. Make sounds, hunt them, show them that you're scarier than they are. Sora taught them battlefield medicine. Your fancy armor keeps you alive too well. You never learned to patch wounds quickly, to do surgery in the dirt, to save your friends while bullets fly overhead. The coalition had medical technology that could regrow limbs, but it was in hospitals. On the battlefield, they had nothing. Sora showed them how to stop bleeding with pressure, how to seal wounds with whatever was available, how to keep someone breathing long enough to reach safety. It was crude, primitive, but it worked. Jinwoo taught them about logistics. You fly into battle with full tanks and full guns. What happens when you run out? We resupply from our bases, Kira said. What if your bases are destroyed? What if supply lines are cut? What if you're alone, far from help? He showed them how to scavenge, how to make weapons from debris, how to find food and water, how to survive when everything goes wrong. Taman taught them the hardest lesson. Total war. The Devourers don't separate soldiers from civilians. They kill everything. You need to do the same. We protect civilians, Zol said firmly. That's what warriors do. And that's why you're losing, Taman replied. The Devourers use civilians as shields, as bait, as weapons. If you're not willing to make hard choices, they'll use your honor to destroy you. He saw their faces. The disgust. The horror. I know, he said quietly. It feels wrong. It is wrong. But when the enemy doesn't play by rules, you have two choices. Break the rules too or die. There's no third option. Trust me. We learned this the hard way. The training continued for weeks. Every night more coalition veterans appeared. Word was spreading through unofficial channels. Warriors who'd lost their units. Commanders who watched their strategies fail. Even some who'd never seen combat but could see the writing on the wall. They came in shame. They left as something different. Not warriors anymore, soldiers. The coalition high command remained ignorant. They were too proud to notice their veterans sneaking away at night. Too focused on formal strategy meetings that solved nothing. Too convinced that honor would see them through. Meanwhile, the Devourers kept advancing. More worlds fell. More refugees fled. The coalition was running out of space to retreat to. One night, Minho addressed a group of 30 coalition soldiers. That was how many came now. Some had trained with humans for weeks. Some were brand new, desperate for any advantage. You've learned the basics, Minho said. But there's one more lesson. The most important one. Everyone leaned in. Why do you fight? Minho asked. For glory, one warrior said automatically, then caught himself. I used to fight for glory. For honor, another said. To prove my worth. Those are warrior reasons, Minho said. Soldier reasons are different. Soldiers fight for the person next to them, for the civilians behind them, for the chance to go home. Not for glory, for survival. He looked at each face. The Devourers are winning because they want to live more than you want to die well. They're survivors. Pure survivors. No honor, no pride, just hunger and the will to keep existing. So we become like them? Kira asked. No, Sora said. We're survivors with a purpose. They survive to consume. We survive to protect. That's the difference. That's why we'll win, will we? Zol asked. Win? The humans looked at each other. Finally Jinwu spoke. On Earth we had a saying. The fight's not over until you stop fighting. The Devourers are tough. They're brutal. They're ruthless. But they have one weakness. What? They've never faced humans before. The coalition warriors didn't understand what that meant. Not yet, but they would. Soon everyone would. The attack came on a Tuesday morning. The Devourers hit Fortress World Caldress without warning. 3 million coalition soldiers stationed there. 5 million civilians. It should have been safe, it wasn't. The defense fleet was destroyed in the first hour. The Devourers came from everywhere at once, using the planet's asteroid belt as cover. By the time the alarm sounded, they were already landing. The human colony on Caldros was small. 300 people. They grew food for the fortress. Made art for the museums. Taught music to children. Support species doing support work. When the evacuation order came, Yuna gathered the humans together. Ships are leaving in 4 hours, she said. We need to pack essentials only. Food, medicine, documents, and what about them? Jinwu pointed toward the fortress. Explosions lit up the sky. Screams carried on the wind. What about the civilians? The military is handling evacuation, Yuna said. But her voice was flat. They all knew the truth. The military was collapsing. There wouldn't be enough ships. There was never enough ships. Dongwu looked at the fortress, then at the humans around him. We left Earth to escape war. Yes, Minho said. We swore we'd never fight again. Yes. But if we leave now, 3 million people die. Silence. Finally, Heron spoke. I didn't become a doctor to watch people die when I could save them. I didn't become a teacher to abandon children, Nari added. One by one they spoke. Each had a reason. Each made a choice. All in favor of breaking our promise? Minho asked. Every hand went up. Then let's go to work. The coalition military command was in chaos. Officers shouted orders that contradicted each other. Soldiers ran in circles. Civilians clogged the streets trying to reach the spaceport. Minho walked into the command center like he owned it. "We're taking over evacuation." Commander Velthar stared at him. "You're farmers. We're survivors," Minho corrected. "And right now you need us. Your people are panicking. Your evacuation plan assumes you have time. You don't. You can't just either give us authority or get out of the way." Minho's voice was steel. "Choose now." Something in his tone made Velthar step back. This wasn't the polite ambassador anymore. This was something else. "Something old and dangerous. What do you need?" Velthar asked. "Everything." Humans scattered throughout the fortress. Each knew their role. They'd done this before on different worlds and different wars. Jinwoo took over logistics. "Forget the priority lists," he told the evacuation officers. "Children and elderly first. No exceptions, no VIPs. No paying for spots. First come, first served by need. But the council members can wait their turn like everyone else." He reorganized the entire spaceport in 30 minutes, made paths through the chaos, assigned ships by capacity, not by comfort, cut the boarding time in half by abandoning all the ceremonial procedures. Sora set up triage centers at every major intersection. Coalition doctors were trying to save everyone. She taught them the terrible math of battlefield medicine. This one has minutes. This one has hours. This one has days. You work on the hours. Save who you can save. Let go of who you can't. "That's barbaric," one doctor protested. "That's reality," Sora replied. "You want to be compassionate or you want to save lives. Choose." Meanwhile, the Devourers were getting closer. They'd broken through the outer defenses. Now they were in the city streets. The coalition soldiers fought bravely and died quickly. They formed shield walls. The Devourers climbed over them. They held doorways. The Devourers came through windows. They charged forward. The Devourers ambushed from behind. Then the humans joined the fight. Taman took command of a unit that had lost its officers. 30 coalition soldiers, scared and broken. "Forget everything you know," he said. "Right now you're not warriors. You're survivors. Our job isn't to defeat them. It's to slow them down. Every minute we hold is another 100 civilians on ships." He spread them out. Put them in buildings with multiple exits. Gave them simple orders. Hit and run, never stand still, always have an escape route. The Devourers hit their position like a wave. But instead of standing and fighting, Taman's unit fired and retreated. The Devourers chased into a building rigged with explosives. Dongwu triggered the charges from 3 blocks away. The explosion killed 40 Devourers. Taman's unit had already moved to the next position. "Again," Taman said into his radio, "hit them. Make them chase. Lead them into traps." Across the city, other humans did the same. They didn't fight honorably. They didn't fight fairly. They fought dirty, using every trick Earth had ever invented. Yunji found a tall building with a good view. She'd told everyone she was a botanist. Technically true. She studied plants. After she retired from being a sniper, she set up her rifle. It was old tech by coalition standards. Chemical propellant. Mechanical scope, but it was quiet. And it worked. She started picking off Devourer commanders, the big ones that directed the swarms. They never saw her. Never heard the shots. They just fell. The Devourers started to slow. Their coordination broke. They made mistakes. Yunwoo moved through the rubble with a team of construction workers. They had tools, heavy equipment, chemical supplies, everything you needed to build or to destroy. They turned streets into death traps, collapsed buildings to block advance routes, set up improvised explosives at choke points, used construction foam to seal Devourer tunnels. "This is a civilian zone," a coalition officer protested. "You're destroying the city." "The city's already lost," Hyunwoo replied, setting another charge. "Now it's just a weapon." Above the city, Ki-hyun led a squadron of cargo pilots. Their ships weren't warships. They were transports, slow, lightly armed, worthless in a real fight. But Ki-hyun hadn't flown cargo in 30 years. He'd flown combat missions. He knew every trick. "Stay low," he told his pilots. "Use the buildings for cover. Don't try to outfight them. Outthink them." They led Devourer fighters into narrow canyons, into dead ends, into each other's fire. The Devourers had faster ships, better weapons, but the humans had experience. One by one, The Devourer fighters fell. Back at the command center, Velthar watched the displays in shock. The evacuation was actually working. The human coordination was perfect. Every unit knew exactly what to do. How are they doing this? He asked Minho. Practice, Minho replied. Lots and lots of practice, but you're farmers. Minho smiled coldly. Commander, do you know what a farmer does? Grows food. A farmer takes land that wants to kill everything on it. Weather, pests, disease. And he bends it to his will. Makes it produce. Makes it serve. Through knowledge. Through patience. Through relentless grinding work. He looked at Velthar. You think farmers are soft? On the screens, another Devourer position fell. Human tactics. Human ruthlessness. We were never farmers, Minho said quietly. We were soldiers who learned to farm. Big difference. Yuna coordinated the final phase, getting the last civilians to the ships. The Devourers were close now. Minutes away. All units fall back to the spaceport, she ordered. Fighting retreat. Every second counts. The humans pulled back slowly, covering each other. The coalition soldiers who'd trained with them moved the same way. Those who hadn't mostly died. Zol led the rear guard. He'd learned well. His unit moved like humans now. No heroics, just cold efficiency. A Devourer swarm caught them at an intersection. 20 soldiers against 200 bugs. For glory? One of his soldiers asked. For survival, Zol replied. Hold them for 3 minutes. Then we run. They held for 3 minutes exactly. Then they ran, leaving mines behind them. The last ship lifted off with Devourers at the landing pad. The doors closed as claws scraped the hull. Then they were up, breaking atmosphere, jumping to hyperspace. Kaldros fell behind them. The fortress burned. But 5 million people escaped. It should have been 0. In the ship's cargo bay, coalition soldiers and human civilians sat together. Both groups covered in dirt and blood. You're not farmers, Velthar said to Minho. No, Minho agreed. We're not. What are you? Minho looked at his people. At Jinwu, still calculating logistics. At Sora, already treating wounded. At Taman, cleaning weapons he'd hoped never to touch again. We're what happens, he said slowly. When a species spends thousands of years learning to kill each other, and then decides to stop, we're reformed monsters, and we really hoped we'd never have to be monsters again. He looked at Velthar. But for you, we'll make an exception. The news spread fast. Kaldros had fallen, but 5 million people escaped. It should have been impossible. And the impossible was done by humans. The Coalition Council called an emergency meeting. This time, Minho didn't stand in the center like a supplicant. He sat at the table. As an equal, explain, Krisha demanded. How did support species accomplish what our military could not? We use tactics you don't teach, Minho replied simply. Tactics we learned through necessity. What tactics? Velthar asked. He'd been there.
He'd seen.
But he still didn't understand. Survival tactics, Minho said. Your people fight to win glory. We fight to live. It makes a difference. Show us, Krisha said. It wasn't a request, so they did. The coalition military assembled on Training World Varos. 50,000 soldiers. The best commanders. The most advanced weapons. They would learn the human way of war. Minho stood before them all. Behind him, the other humans. Jinwu, Sora, Taman, Dongwu. Kirin, Nari, Kihyun, Yunji, Hyunwoo. They looked so small compared to the alien warriors. For 10,000 years, you fought with honor, Minho began. You've won every war. You're proud of this. You should be. But now you face an enemy that doesn't care about your honor. So we're going to teach you to fight without it. The training was brutal. Humans pushed the coalition soldiers hard, harder than they'd ever been pushed. Stop standing in formation. Taman yelled at a unit. Your targets. Spread out. Use cover. Think. Stop announcing your attacks. Sora shouted. Silent, fast, deadly. That's how you survive. Stop being predictable. Dongwu roared. The enemy learns your patterns. Change them constantly. The coalition soldiers struggled. Everything they'd learned was wrong. Their instincts got them killed in simulations. Their honor got them defeated, but slowly they learned. Zol became an instructor. He taught what the humans taught him. Other veterans who'd trained in secret became instructors too. They knew the lessons from experience. The transformation took months. But eventually the coalition military became something new, something the galaxy had never seen. Warriors who fought like soldiers. Honor and practicality combined. Then it was time to test it. The Devourers were pushing toward the Coalition core worlds. They'd taken 50 systems, consumed trillions. They seemed unstoppable. The Coalition assembled a new fleet. 50,000 ships, 500,000 soldiers. They flew to meet the Devourers at the Hilo system, but this time was different. The ships didn't fly in tight formation. They spread out, used asteroids for cover, sent scouts ahead, established supply lines. When the Devourers attacked, they didn't find easy targets. They found ambushes. The Coalition ships lured them into kill zones, used crossfire, targeted their supply ships first. On the ground, Coalition soldiers fought like humans taught them. They didn't hold positions to the death. They retreated and regrouped. They set traps. They used the environment. They were ruthless, and the humans fought beside them. Jinwu led combined units of humans and aliens. They moved like one organism, each covering the other's weaknesses. Human cunning and alien strength together. Yunji trained Coalition snipers. They learned patience, silence, the art of the invisible kill. Hyunwoo showed demolition teams how to turn entire battlefields into traps, how to make the enemy afraid to advance. Ki-hyun flew with Coalition pilots, taught them dogfighting, real dogfighting, not the formal duels they'd practiced. Dirty tricks, desperation moves. Whatever works, the battle lasted 3 weeks. The Devourers fought hard. They adapted, they changed tactics. But so did the Coalition. For the first time, the Devourers met an enemy as ruthless as them, as adaptable, as willing to do anything to survive. And slowly, the Devourers began to lose. The final push came at the Devourer command ship. It was massive, organic, grown rather than built. Inside was the Queen Mother, directing the entire swarm. Minho led the assault team. 50 soldiers, 20 humans, 30 Coalition. They boarded the ship through a breach. Inside was hell. Organic corridors, acid dripping from walls. Devourers everywhere. Stay together, Minho ordered. Watch every angle. Trust your training. They moved through the ship like a machine. Each member knew their role. No heroics, no glory-seeking. Just professionals doing their job. Zol fought beside Minho. The young warrior had changed. No more need to prove himself. Just calm efficiency, to the left, he called. Minho fired without looking. A Devourer fell. Thanks. We're even, Zol replied, covering the right side. They reached the Queen Mother's chamber. She was huge. As big as a building, surrounded by guards, invincible. Jinwoo, Minho said into his radio. Do it. Outside the ship, Jinwoo triggered the charges his team had planted. Not to destroy the ship, to seal it. To trap everyone inside? Now we finish this, Minho said. The fight was savage. The Queen Mother called every Devourer on the ship to defend her. Hundreds of them. Against 50 soldiers. But those 50 fought like the universe had taught them. Like Earth had forged them. Like desperation had sharpened them. They used everything. Guns, blades, bare hands. The walls. The floor. Each other. Nothing was off limits. Nothing was too dirty. Sora pulled a wounded Coalition soldier to safety, patched him, sent him back. Kept everyone in the fight. Hyunwoo's last explosives brought down a section of ceiling, crushing a dozen Devourers. Yunji's precise shots took out the Queen Mother's eyes. All 17 of them. Taemin led a charge that broke the final defensive line, and Minho, with Zol beside him, reached the Queen Mother herself. For Earth, Minho said quietly. Not a battle cry, just a statement. For the Coalition, Zol added. They struck together, human and alien, soldier and warrior. As one, the Queen Mother fell. The Devourers throughout the system began to falter. Without central coordination, they were just animals. Dangerous but manageable. The Coalition fleet hunted them down over the next few days. It wasn't clean. It wasn't honorable. But it was thorough. The war was over. Back on Coalition Prime, the Council met again. This time every human was invited. Not as support species. As equals. We were arrogant, Krisha admitted. We thought our way was the only way. We were wrong. You weren't wrong, Minho said gently. Honor has value. Pride has value. But survival has more value. We learned that the hard way. How? Velthar asked. How did your species learn these things? Sora stood up. She pulled up a holographic display. Earth's history appeared. Thousands of years of it. This is the Stone Age, she said. We fought with rocks, then bronze, then iron, then steel, then guns, then bombs, then weapons that could end all life. The images scrolled. Battles, wars, genocides, horrors beyond counting. We fought each other for resources, for territory, for ideas, for pride. We killed billions. We nearly destroyed ourselves, multiple times. The council watched in silence. The scale of human violence was staggering. And then, Sora continued, we stopped. Not because we became weak. Because we became tired. We'd learned every way to kill. Mastered every tactic. Won every kind of war. And we realized winning wasn't the point. Surviving was. So we chose peace, Minho finished. Not because we couldn't fight. Because we'd fought enough. We came to the stars hoping to leave that behind. But you came back to it, Zol said. For us, we did, Minho agreed. Because peace doesn't mean standing by while others suffer. It means choosing when to fight. And when we choose to fight, we fight to win. The council was quiet. Then Krisha spoke. We offer humanity full membership, military integration, council seats. Whatever you want, we accept, Minho said. On one condition. War becomes the last option, not the first. Not the default. The very last. Agreed, the council said together. Later, the humans gathered on their colony. They looked at the stars. We did it again, Hyeron said quietly. We went to war. We saved lives, Jinwoo corrected. That's different, is it? Nari asked. It has to be, Taemin said. Otherwise, what's the point of stopping? Minho watched a coalition ship pass overhead. On board were soldiers training in human tactics. Learning to survive, learning to adapt. We're not farmers, Dongwoo said. No, Minho agreed. We're not. We're soldiers who farm, warriors who paint, killers who teach children. We're all of it. And that's okay, is it? Yuna asked. It has to be, Minho repeated, because the universe needs both. The ones who know how to fight, and the ones who know when to stop. He looked at his people, his friends, his fellow monsters who'd learned to be human. We're not harmless, he said. We're reformed. And that's the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. Because we know what we're capable of, and we choose not to be, until we must. And then? Sora asked. Minho smiled. Then heaven help whoever made us choose. The stars shone above them, peaceful, quiet. But the universe knew now. Humanity wasn't harmless, they were just very, very good at pretending.